88D the Colosseum is full. 50,000 voices rise together. In the center of the arena stands a condemned prisoner, bound, alone, surrounded by sand that has already absorbed too much history. The crowd is not angry. They are entertained. This is what Rome called civilization. We remember the Colosseum for gladiators, for heroism, for spectacle. What we don't remember is that most of what happened here wasn't sport. It was theater, and the victims were never meant to win. Today, we're going to uncover 11 spectacles that reveal what the Roman arena really was. Not madness. Not chaos. But policy, organized suffering, engineered obedience. Because Rome didn't just conquer with armies. It conquered with applause. 1. Blood at a funeral. Games began with a funeral. 260 for BC. 3 sons honor their dead father, not with prayer, but with combat. Slaves are armed and forced to fight to the death. This wasn't entertainment yet. It was ritual. Blood was believed to calm restless spirits. But Rome saw something more powerful than superstition. They saw a crowd watching, and they realized something dangerous. Power looks strongest when others bleed for it. Point 2. Death is campaign. Strategy B. The 3rd century BC, funerals turned political. Candidates sponsored larger, bloodier games. The Senate called it piety. The crowd called it unforgettable. Every duel became propaganda. Every corpse reinforced dominance. If you could afford spectacle, you deserve power. Violence became acute sum acute. 3. The arena as imperial branding temporary. Wooden stands became permanent stone amphitheaters, more than 250 across the empire. Every major city had one. They weren't built for sport. They were built for messaging. Rome commands. Rome dominates. Rome decides who lives and who dies. And 50,000 citizens watch and learn. For the industrialization of death at the Colosseum's inauguration, Emperor Titus hosted 100 days of games, thousands of animals killed, prisoners executed daily. Historian Eutropius later estimated over 400,000 people died in arenas across for centuries. That's not chaos. That's infrastructure. Death scheduled. Budgeted. Organized. Rome turned mortality into logistics. 5. The psychology of complicit. Philosopher Seneca once attended midday executions. He left disturbed. I return home more cruel. He wrote, because I have been among humans. The arena didn't just punish the condemned. It trained the audience. If you cheer long enough, you forget you're watching suffering. You begin watching performance. And once you enjoy it, you belong to it. 6. The spectacle of exotic power. Imported lions from Africa. Leopards from the Caucasus. Crocodiles from the Nile. Not to display, but to kill. Nature itself became a prop. The message was simple. If Rome can command the wild, it can command you. 7. Great combat. Imagined gladiators as equals. They weren't. Some were trained professionals. Others were criminals handed wooden weapons. Some helmets restricted vision. Some armor exhausted the wearer. The crowd didn't want fairness. They wanted suspense. Uncertainty. Above all, they wanted dominance. Reinforced. 8. Condemnation to the beast. Smithy executions were theater. Condemned prisoners tied to stakes. Animals released. The audience placed bets, not on who would survive, but how long. Each punishment matched the crime. It looked like justice. It felt like control. 9. Mythological executions. From blurred myth and execution, prisoners forced to reenact legendary deaths. Heroes from stories rewritten with real bodies. If the myth required tragedy, the condemned supplied it. Even legend bowed to empire. 10. Naval slaughter on flooded arenas. For mock naval battles, thousands forced onto ships, arrows flying, steel clashing. No escape. The ocean recreated in stone. Water drained the next day. Sand returned. The message lingered. Even nature obeys. Rome. 11. Living symbols of fear as the empire aged. Spectacles intensified. Executions became warnings. Religious dissenters punished publicly. Prisoners made examples of, not quietly, but loudly. Because fear works best when witnessed. The real purpose of the arena was never about entertainment. It was education. When you watch suffering long enough, you normalize it. When you cheer, you participate. When you participate, you obey. Rome didn't just conquer territories. It conquered thought. It trained its citizens to associate authority with spectacle. Power with performance. Dominance with celebration. The cost. The late empire, Rome spent more on games than infrastructure. More on spectacle than stability. Citizens who once valued discipline demanded distraction. Bred in circuses, the poet juvenile mocked, a population pacified by entertainment, an empire distracted from its own decay. As borders weakened, the arenas kept roaring. Until they didn't. The silence be the 5th century. The Colosseum stood hollow. The sand no longer absorbed blood. The crowds were gone. But the question remains, can a civilization that trains itself to enjoy suffering survive? History answered no. Because applause is powerful, but it cannot hold up a collapsing empire. Today, the Colosseum stands as stone. Impressive. Iconic. Photographed. But harder to admire once you understand its purpose. It wasn't just architecture. It was a machine that turned death into loyalty, and loyalty into control, and control into collapse. If this story unsettled you, that's good, because history isn't meant to comfort. It's meant to warn. Rome is gone, but the human appetite for spectacle is not, and that may be the most disturbing truth of all.